This videotape features the 2-3-4 thread Husky Lock models 905 and 910, both extremely functional and versatile sergers. Stepping up to the Husky Lock model 910, you will see an LCD window known as the Sewing Advisor. This Husqvarna Husky Lock owner's video will take you step by step through the basic features of your new serger, including threading, plus all the techniques that make Husky Lock serging so much fun. At the end of each technique, a stop sign will appear, signaling you to pause your VCR and try the demonstrated technique. The Husky Lock Model 910 will be used throughout this videotape. Set your serger on a sturdy, flat surface. Your Husky Lock has a handy accessory tray, which conveniently stores on top of the machine's bed. To remove, slide the tray back and to the left. You'll notice a lip on the back edge of the tray. When you put the tray back into place, this lip fits snugly against the back edge of the machine's bed. The accessory tray features an open compartment for storing your Husky Lock's dust cover, plus a neat accessory box. This is your presser foot lift. It raises and lowers your presser foot. The foot can be raised to 2 positions. Push the presser foot lift back until you feel it click into the first position. This is the regular height for a raised presser foot. This also releases the tension dials, so you can effortlessly remove your work or pull your threads through the tension discs. For an extra high lift for accommodating thicker, loftier fabrics like fleece or terry cloth, push the lever all the way back until the lever stops. Your Husqvarna Husky Lock sergers feature a free arm great for sewing cuffs, pant legs, and other hard-to-reach areas. To reveal the free arm, remove the flatbed cover. Place your hand underneath the cover and pull straight out and to the left. The imprinted arrows provide quick reference. Simply pull in the direction of the arrows. The power switch is located at the bottom right-hand side. The same switch controls both power and light. Push the foot control plug into the connector socket at the bottom right side of your serger. Turn your serger on. If leaving your serger unattended, turn the switch off. The Sewing Advisor on the Husky Lock Model 910 is a handy LCD window displaying step-by-step advice for setting up your Husky Lock. It's like having a built-in sewing teacher. Standard settings for 11 pre-programmed stitches and 6 different types of fabrics, covering most all your sewing needs, are displayed in the window. Or enter your own settings for your own fabric types and save the technique in one of the 50 memories. Let's learn more about the Sewing Advisor by reviewing its features. The best possible sewing advice for setting up your machine will be displayed in the LCD window. Your pre-programmed stitch and fabric selections are accessible by touching the Auto Mode button, or A. Memory Mode, or the M button, allows you to permanently enter your own settings into the machine's memory. While in Auto Mode, touch the Stitch Selection button, located above the drawing of a serger stitch, to select any of the 11 pre-programmed stitches. The Fabric Selection button is located above the picture of a fabric square. 6 types of fabric can be selected by touching the Fabric Selection button, again while in Auto Mode. To enter or alter settings, enter the Manual mode by touching the cursor or arrow button. Then scroll through the settings using either the Up, Plus button, or the Down, Minus button. All of these remarkable features will be explained in greater detail while you surge your way through this videotape. Proper threading is the single most important factor in successful serging. You'll find your Husqvarna Husky Lock is very easy to thread. Master the correct threading before starting your first project. Always thread your Husky Lock in the following sequence: upper looper, lower looper, right needle, and left needle. You can use most any type of thread on your serger. A good quality sewing thread is recommended. Cone thread may be the most economical due to the amount of thread. However, regular spools of sewing thread, large, small, or thin, as well as decorative threads, work equally as well. When using large cone thread, Be sure a plastic cone holder is on the spool pin, and then place your cone on top of the holder. This will help hold the cone of thread in place. For regular sewing thread or smaller spools, the plastic spool holder is not necessary. Place the spool directly on the spool pin. Use the spool cap to keep the spool in place and to prevent the thread from catching on the edges of the spool. Spools of specialty thread sometimes work loose during sewing, causing tangling or irregular feeding. To prevent this, place a spool net over the decorative thread as shown. This applies just enough tension on the thread for smoother feeding. To begin, open the front cover and expose your threading pads. To open the front cover, push to the right and pull the cover down toward you. Once open, you'll notice a convenient color-coded threading guide inside the front cover. The colors correspond with the loopers and needles. Extend the telescopic thread pull to its highest position. For a better understanding as to the function each thread plays in creating an overlock stitch, and to assist you in learning the threading paths, thread your Husky Lock with colors which correspond with the tensions. Let's thread your Husky Lock starting with the upper looper. Raise the presser foot. Turn your hand wheel toward you to bring your upper looper to its highest position. Draw the thread from the spool. Hold the thread up in front of the guide on the thread pole. Drop the thread in the guide from front to back. The thread will fall in front. Bring the thread down and snap it into the first guide located on top of the machine. Lay the thread in the upper looper tension discs, making certain the thread snaps in between the discs. Continue as illustrated on the inside front cover. Thread the eye of the upper looper. If needed, use the tweezers found in the accessory box to assist in your threading. Pull out 3 to 4 inches or 10 centimeters of thread and lay it underneath and behind the presser foot. This is the lower looper, which you will thread next. Make certain your lower looper is to the far right. Bring the lower looper thread through the guide on the thread pole and snap it into the first guide on top of the machine. Lay the thread in the lower looper tension discs, making certain the thread snaps in between the discs. Continue threading guides 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now locate the self-threading lower looper lever. Push the lever in the direction of the arrow until the self-threading looper hole is directly in front of the lower looper eye. Thread your thread through both holes simultaneously. For ease of threading, you may want to use the tweezers provided. Pull the thread back, leaving approximately 4 inches or 10 centimeters. Lay the thread underneath and behind the presser foot. Turn the hand wheel toward you once, and the lower looper threader automatically returns to its original position. Now you will thread your needles, starting with the right. Raise the needles to their highest position by turning the hand wheel toward you. Draw the thread from the spool. Hold the thread up in front of the guide on the thread pole. Drop the thread in the guide from front to back. The thread will fall in front. Bring the thread down and snap it into the first guide located on top of the machine. Lay the thread between the thread tension disc, making certain your thread snaps into the disc. Pass the thread through the remaining guides for the appropriate needle. Make certain the thread passes through the guide just above the needle. Thread the needle, pulling 3 to 4 inches or 10 centimeters of thread through the eye and lay it underneath and behind the presser foot. Thread the left needle in the same manner. Again, pull 3 to 4 inches or 10 centimeters of thread through the eye. To complete your threading, gather all 4 threads and pull them through the machine. Place all 4 threads behind and underneath the presser foot. Close the front cover. Always be sure to close the front cover before sewing. Your Husky Lock has a safety feature in which the machine will not sew with the front cover open. You're successfully threaded and ready to sew. If you're a Husqvarna Husky Lock Model 910 owner, you can now rely upon the Sewing Advisor for step-by-step guidance. Or if you own a Model 905, consult your instruction book. The first step in using your Sewing Advisor is to select your language. 14 are available. The preset language is displayed in the LCD window when you turn your machine on. To select a different language, first turn off your machine. Simultaneously hold down the Auto Mode, or A button, and the cursor or arrow button, and turn on the machine. Scroll through the available languages by touching the up or plus button, or the down or minus button until the desired language appears. Then, press the memory or M button to store your selection, even when the machine is turned off. Let's use the Sewing Advisor to serge a basic 4-thread overlock stitch using a woven medium-weight fabric. When you turn on your Husky Lock Model 910, your Sewing Advisor will automatically be set for Auto A1 Woven Medium. Auto means you're in the Auto mode, the mode in which you can select from 11 pre-programmed stitches and 6 different fabric types. A refers to the technique, in this case, 4-thread overlock stitch. 1 indicates fabric type, woven medium. As you can see, this information is also displayed in the window. To change a sewing program, simply touch the Stitch Selection button. The settings change in accordance with the stitch and the fabric type. Selecting a fabric type is just as easy. Touch the Fabric Selection button until you find your desired fabric type. Again, the suggested machine settings change in accordance to the stitch and fabric type selected. Better yet, your Husky Lock 910 will advise you when your stitch and fabric combination is not recommended, with a message in the Sewing Advisor window, Not Advised. Please note, the suggested standard settings for each stitch and fabric type are just those, suggestions. Always test sew on a scrap of your project's fabric to first determine if the settings are appropriate. For this exercise, return back to Auto A1, or 4-thread overlock woven medium fabric. Now let's walk step by step through the recommended settings. Again, you're in the Auto mode, Stitch A, or 4-thread overlock, Fabric 1, woven medium. The next setting is stitch length, which should be set at N or normal 2.5 millimeters. Differential feed located above the stitch length dial should also be at N or normal. The next setting refers to the stitch finger. The stitch finger is the wide pin located on the far right of the needle plate. Stitches form around the stitch finger. For a 4-thread overlock stitch, your stitch finger should be set at N or normal. Continuing, the next setting is needles. You need both your right and left needles to sew a 4-thread overlock stitch. The letters in the window correspond to the markings on the needle bar, just above the appropriate needle. C for left needle and D for right needle. Your stitch width or cutting width should be N or normal. Lastly, your Sewing Advisor suggests the appropriate thread tensions. Your thread tension should be set at N or normal for left needle, N or normal for right needle, N or normal for upper looper, and N or normal for lower looper.